Kazakhstan's foreign policy has always been multi-vector, and this is an obvious merit of the first president Nursultan Nazarbayev. This is particularly true because it was very difficult to achieve this, especially in the difficult geopolitical conditions in which Kazakhstan found itself after gaining independence, when the interests of many large states were fighting around it, including the last three great powers of our time, China, Russia, and the United States. Kazakhstan is actually at the epicenter of this complex and multifaceted confrontation. Its place on the map dictates only one possible foreign policy strategy that would meet the interests of our state and people. It is multi-vector. When asked in December 2014 whether Kazakhstan should reconsider its multi-vector policy, Nursultan Nazarbayev replied, "Our multi-vector approach has led to the fact that we actually have a friendly environment. We have no insoluble conflicts with any state. All our borders are delineated, delimited, demarcated, and this is international law." In the context of 2014, when international relations seemed hopelessly damaged, this was a diplomatically verified, clear answer in which one could easily see a deep meaning. Nursultan Nazarbayev in 2014 clearly answered, and this thesis remains the main priority of Kazakhstan's foreign policy today. After the collapse of the USSR, this is the challenge that Kazakhstan faced under the leadership of a young and energetic politician, Nursultan Nazarbayev. The formation of its own effective foreign policy strategy was primarily intended to ensure the long-term survival of the republic as a new subject of international law. Kazakhstan had to build its foreign policy from scratch. The main difficulty in forming a foreign policy course was that the country gained sovereignty not in a calm, stable environment, but in a situation of an absolutely new geopolitical alignment. It was at such a moment that it was necessary to accurately determine the position of the state in international processes that directly or indirectly affect the interests of Kazakhstan. It seemed for many, especially in the West, that this new world order excluded competition in foreign policy. Now no one needed to fight anyone, as the USSR and the United States had earlier. At that time, the idea of the famous American political scientist Francis Fukuyama about the end of history was very popular in the world. This concept meant the end of all ideological confrontations in the world with the end of the so-called Cold War. However, in reality, the deep contradictions and mutual distrust between the leading powers had not gone away. They had moved to a new qualitative level. After some time, with the emergence of suitable conditions, new conflicts of interest had already been identified. The most important thing for us was that foreign policy competition now began for Central Asia. Here, the interests of many countries seeking to play a role in the region converged, and many of them entered into open confrontation in the long-suffering Afghanistan. There was a real threat that the situation with the destabilization of Afghanistan could spread to the Central Asian states. Against this background, the Russian government began to cooperate even more closely with the authorities of the local republics. As a result, in 2002, Russia initiated the creation of a full-fledged international organization, the CSTO, or Collective Security Treaty Organization. For their part, the United States and Western countries have also joined the new big game. Central Asia was located between China and Russia, which became Washington's two geopolitical rivals. So the Americans supported all sorts of initiatives. In particular, today they support the Tapi gas pipeline involving Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India. China, in turn, has been closely monitoring such movements in Central Asia. And Beijing has also raised questions about the US's influence in the region. Since the second half of the 2010s, China has significantly increased its activity in Central Asia by building a military base in Tajikistan. In this extremely difficult situation, with so many influential players who have many questions for each other, the first president of Kazakhstan, Nursultan Nazarbayev, has always looked like a real grandmaster, a master of the political game. Therefore, in 1992, when speaking at the UN, Nursultan Nazarbayev proposed to create the CICA Conference on Interaction and Confidence-Building Measures in Asia.
Перспективы этого процесса, его основные этапы могли бы выглядеть следующим образом. Первый этап подготовительные работы по организации и проведению совещаний по взаимодействию мерам доверия в Азии. Примерные сроки 92-95 годы. Второй этап. Активизация работы СВМДА, расширение числа его членов, перевод в рамки и режим совещаний по безопасности и сотрудничеству в Азии.
Nursultan Nazarbayev implemented this idea, and in 2002, the first CICA summit. It is striking that the demand for this idea was so significant that the CICA included longtime opponents, Iran, as well as Palestine and Israel. The question is not whether it is possible to quickly achieve a solution to the most acute conflict of our time. The question is rather how to create new conditions for dialogue. For almost 30 years of independence, the Republic has never deviated from its multi-vector principle in foreign policy. Kazakhstan interacts with virtually all active external players in the region. In recent years, the country has sent peacekeepers to various hotspots around the world, including Tajikistan and Iraq. Often, it was the personal contributions of Nursultan Nazarbayev that played a primary role in terms of resolving certain issues. Recall that mainly through the mediation of the first president of Kazakhstan, the Turkish-Russian conflict of 2015 found its solution. In a general sense, Nursultan Nazarbayev has always sought to offer his services as a skilled peacemaker. For almost 30 years, Nursultan Nazarbayev skillfully managed to lead the country through a very difficult path, making it possible to maintain the stability of the entire state system. First of all, the state must constantly maintain its own foreign policy, subjectivity, and independence. In a sense, this is necessary so as to not allow external players to play a game against the state's interests. It is this idea that is at the heart of the multi-vector foreign policy laid down by the first president of Kazakhstan, Nursultan Nazarbayev.